Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Riverdale, Season 7, Episode 13.
Chapter 130, The Crucible.
Lucky number 13. This was a good episode. It definitely, for me, felt earned.
Sure.
We did ramp some things into gear and made some not baffling choices, but choices are being made.
Yeah.
It dealt with some of the questions and some of the confusions we were having from episodes 1 through 12, particularly in that the way that they are behaving in the 50s. So we have McCarthyism. The show, we are on the razor's edge of so many cliffs.
Yeah.
Just
we really
teetering.
No, you know what it is? It's that scene in Return of the King where they kill the Witch King and then it's like they are alone on an island of land because it like splinters all around them. That's what we are.
And their work checks, and it has been, the show as altogether has been good enough that it's earned, a fair amount of trust. And it is logical. I mean, it was very logical, but and I can't say this without knowing where we go, but it does feel like we are properly in the back nine. It feels like, okay, now for Act 2.
Yeah. Well, you're right, because we have been really like gently building up Cheryl's queerness and the comic books thing and everything.
Self-expression, Betty's sexuality.
Yeah, Archie's
tensions, race, and sex.
And Archie's like tenderness and stuff. And then in this episode, it was like, well, if Archie keeps writing poetry, he's gay. And Cheryl has to out all the rest of the gay students or whatever. And we're going to burn the comic books.
Well, and I mean, that happens when things come to a head.
Yeah.
And so that's why
it was very slowly and then all at once.
Yeah, it's not a complaint yet. But it was sort of like, it was abrupt, I'll say, because we dismissed Miss Thornton, who has been a slight presence. She was accused of being a communist and thus indoctrinating the students. And so we dismissed her and brought in Penelope and Clifford. Extremely welcome. A little disappointing that seemingly all means nothing, though.
It's not even as
Penelope's like already out and Miss Grundy's back.
Yeah, it's not even as long reaching as when the Argents take over the school on Teen Wolf.
That was a full season.
Yeah.
And
but you're right, the bringing back Miss Grundy and then but the same actress, but then trying to make her frumpy like the comic book.
They didn't go
not that far, but that pink lipstick was a crime.
I have faith and I do have trust. I do. I have faith and trust.
Course, yeah.
But that's one of the plots that the show was criticized for. So to have put so much distance between it, because if you recall, Miss Grundy was disposed of in season 2. So we have brought the actress back, and the characterization, when we left her on a reveal that not only that she was a predator. Yeah. And the implication is serial predator.
Yeah, that she continued to do it.
Which, again, that alone retroactively kind of earned the whole plot for me.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest, that is part of the reason why I am more accepting of her coming back. But I don't think she's going to be the same character.
Which is baffling.
Which is weird, yeah.
because
Archie is way dumb enough to fall for it.
Especially he's in a place where his mind is open.
Yeah. To indoctrination.
I don't know. I question it. I'm going to see it through.
Yeah.
I'm also a little bit nervous that next week is the quintessential musical episode. We're fans of the musical episode. That's a slightly hot take. I'm having not seen it or the rest of the season. I'm questioning its placement.
Yeah, I think it either should have been this week and push this next week because it feels like it's going to stop our momentum.
I think it should have been when the Babylonium, when they had the screening.
Sure, the Halloween.
Yeah. But I'm going to see it through.
Yeah.
Miss Grundy, her characterization seemed odd because she seemed very genuine, which she did the first 4 episodes she was in. Like, it was a real reveal, the Lolita glasses.
Yeah.
And I truly loved it. But so that's now 2 things. That's Penelope and Clifford, and then just sort of like dismissing them. We are fans of Natalie Bolt with the very minimal material she had in this episode. She was so good. I mean, she's always in rare form, but I feel a little bit robbed of that. We have brought back in Hiram.
Yeah. It's fine.
I wanted Hermione back, and I did want Hiram back. I wanted to see Hiram again.
Yeah.
But I don't like how the show handled Hermione's character.
Well, we liked how they handled it when she like actually was the kingpin, but then they like
that
immediately
lasted for like 3 episodes.
They immediately dismissed it.
And
like we got confirmation that it was her, and then immediately it wasn't.
And so I was excited to see her. So of course we spent the entire episode with Hiram, essentially doing the same thing we've always done with Hiram.
Yes. However, I do think, I mean, we don't know if he actually did it, but the assumption is yes, that he actually followed through on the promises that Veronica made him make to her. So in that sense, like pairing that moment with her reciting Cordelia's monologue from King Lear about a man who forces his daughter to prove her love for him, I do like that. The one pitfall that I wish we hadn't had to deal with is that Veronica did help him get exonerated, which I guess he wasn't actually. I mean, maybe he still was, but like the point of those photographs wasn't that he was eating dinner with Vidal Mastro, but that he was having an affair. So it's whatever. But at the same time, I just sort of was like, why are you giving in to him again? It would have been perfect for her to be like, no, and 17th of all, I'll go sleep at my movie theater again if you pull this shit more. And
what we did see.
It was good.
Was nice.
And if this is the last we see of Mark Consuelos on this show, I will give it a thumbs up.
And I want to hit that point because we've hit it almost every time. But our issues
is not
Mark Consuelos,
no.
and I am glad to see him back and see him back with Camilla. But there was just something about having this entire episode, and then we had at the very end. We had Marisol Nichols come in and give this like really nice performance.
Yeah.
Like give this very kind of touching, very poignant performance from a character that we've had a rocky road with and has been a hot minute since we saw. Mm-hmm. And when last we saw her, she had joined the Real Housewives of such and such. And I really enjoyed that flavor. And this was a 180.
It really was. Yeah.
And I want to know if something's going to come of it.
Well, hopefully Marisol Nichols will stick around because that was the scene that made me believe that Hiram actually like turned over the Pembroke to Veronica and told Marisol Nichols or Hermione that he was cheating, because otherwise why would they be getting divorced? Unless he just went home and was like, I want a divorce. And then he's going to marry Kelly. But it seems like she knows. She seemed like very downtrodden.
I also wanted it to be Kelly Ripa again.
Oh my God, amazing.
Because remember, she was like having an affair with him, but it was like a one-off, one scene. Yeah. And I was like, come on. But that just odd, very strange. We've brought Grayson Holt back in.
Yeah.
Again, none of these are problems. It sounds critical coming from me, and I'm making a point. I mean, if this is Drag Race, I'm RuPaul going, and are there jokes there? Can you make this work? Let me see your impression of B. Arthur, because I'm unconvinced.
Because the last time we saw him, he was in several different trash bags. So
when he didn't even interact with Betty, and he was
in this episode,
and he was like Betty's creepy older boyfriend.
Yeah,
And
it's not that he's older.
Also just really great. And
he is great.
I mean, my preferred Grayson Holt is naked and a werewolf.
Sure, of course.
But
well, so the issue for me even wasn't that he was older than Betty. It was that he was her superior officer. That's the problem. It
very, very strange. This whole episode, that was the theme of this episode, is nice, throwback TV show you got there. It'd be a shame if something were to happen.
Something weird happened on it.
Because, and this is not the first time that we got Evelyn Ever Never back. She's been in 2 episodes already. But she was showcased in this. Zoe DeGrand Mason is so good.
Oh, good.
She is so funny. And the material, the way she's able to mine just diamonds out of these, 5 sentences.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
But again, it does dogpile onto this, but why?
Yeah.
I mean, and if this is truly a victory lap, which is kind of what it's been thus far.
And it seems like it's going to continue.
Yeah, fine. But at this midway point, I'm cautious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm just because you're assuming people are going to remember who she is. I guess it doesn't really matter.
No, it does. Because she's not the same character.
Yeah.
I swear to God, if they bring Chad Michael Murray back, I will.
They won't.
No, I know, but can you even imagine? Just imagine.
There were so many things on this episode where I was like, okay, that was odd. Jughead and Ethel are still off on their own adventure.
Yeah.
I think I still like it.
It's fine. I have PTSD from that one plot line from season 2 or 3. And so every time they're in a scene together, I just am expecting her to lunge at him and try to make out. And it's not that I'm even against it, but it's that is not the chemistry that they have.
Because I remember people were there when the show was starting. People thought that, and I guess in the comics, I think there might be a Jughead Ethel thing, but Jughead is frequently the part of the show for me that, and I'm not even going to say that doesn't work. I guess that I'm least interested in. Mm-hmm. So I sort of don't mind there being a divide, a canyon between the 2 plots.
Sure, yeah.
But with so much weird shit happening over here, I'm we're still doing this over here.
Yeah, well, to a certain extent, he kind of is like a Cassandra at this point, because he keeps on being this is ridiculous. They can't do this. This is only going to lead to worse stuff. And we've had his voiceover back, not the entire season, but a handful of times. And it was in this episode too, talking about an inferno and all of this stuff. And so usually when he is doing a voiceover, we are predicting things. And so I the whole episode, I was oh good, we're going to be burning books by the end of this. And we sure as hell were. And so
watch along with us. Head on over to Patreon at the $3 tier.
So I totally agree that it's fine that they're still off on their own adventure, but also it's when have we, now that they're burning the comic books, gotten to the place beyond the comic books needing to be the actual focus of this, or can we move on to the fascism of it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do we still need the crutch of the physical comic books, or can we move on to the metaphor? What's worse, communism or fascism?
Flip that coin.
Yeah.
Do Cheryls' parents know she's gay? It seems like the worst kept secret.
Seemingly, yes, because also they both were I'm not mad about it. And then Penelope was you are afflicted with something that's out of your control, which is, if we're being honest, pretty progressive for the Blossoms. But they didn't seem worried about it, or as if they were going to send her away again to the Sisters of Quiet Mercy. They mostly were worried about their reputation if it were to get out about her.
It's they don't actually care if she's gay. They just care if people know.
Yeah.
Which is a thing. But
again, shockingly progressive for the Blossom, the 1950s Blossom.
Yeah.
But so it was Evelyn that spilled the beans.
And they were going to take her Vixens away from her. It holds. It holds up to scrutiny, even though I feel like Cheryl's past that.
This version of Cheryl should not have been so torn about it for the whole episode, in my opinion. But she did the right thing.
Yeah, I think we sound like we're being critical or negative, and we're not. I'm at a slight impasse. I'm not sure how I feel about the myriad plots that were.
If I had to put a stamp on this is probably the episode I've enjoyed the least this season, but I still really like it.
But a lot of that hinges on just not knowing where we're going. I might enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't imagine coming back to this episode, but it's like if the next few episodes go well, this hesitation will dissipate.
Oh, 100%.
But I'm just sort of like we just got to it, like when last we saw Betty and Veronica were telling each other they loved each other.
Yeah, what the hell?
And so I'm sort of like, are we gonna come back to that?
Yeah.
Or because what is Betty doing?
She is basically starting like a zine, I think. So she put, her mom took away her phone and her typewriter from her room. And then when they fired Mrs. Thornton, Betty went to the principal and said she was our faculty advisor for the blue and gold. So we need a new one. And he was like, well, we're cutting the blue and gold because we don't have enough money. And also teenagers don't have anything to say and you suck, but maybe you'll be okay specifically. And he was, I am not wrong. And so she was like, well, fine, I'll do it myself. And so she typed up like an anonymous letter and put a little flyer called the Teenage Mystique in everybody's locker. That basically was like, if you have something to say, write to me, the girl next door, to this P.O. box. And so at the end of the episode, she goes to the P.O. box and there has been an overwhelming surge of correspondence for her. So I think she's going to start publishing an anonymous zine at school. And
then we didn't fully hit it, but Mrs. Thornton, they think she's a communist and they think she's indoctrinating the kids. And somehow that ties into the kids that are maybe gay.
I think it's all just like wrapped up together.
We didn't pause it, so I couldn't see
all of the names.
Because the fourth one was Clay Walker. Yeah. So it's like I could read the first four, which it's Cheryl, Tony, Kevin and Clay. They're bearding
for each other.
Yeah, so they've switched. Nothing's really come up much of it. Cheryl explained to Tony that Tony doesn't like that.
Yeah. But Tony was like, whatever.
It's fine.
It's totally fine. And Evelyn Evernever really was. It would have all worked out if it weren't for you as pesky kids at the end. The way her face looked at them was amazing.
I'm trying to think. I've said most of the things I want to say. I'm trying to make sure that we actually covered the stuff.
Well, Ethel and Jughead were also doing a really roundabout underground comic book ring that the Boy Scouts operated a sting on.
It was so funny because they were sitting back to back at Pops, and so Ethel was in one booth with the comic books, and Jughead was literally back to back behind her in the other booth. And so she was just sort of like sneakily handing the comics
around the side
to him.
And only after he tapped the quarter 2 times.
Also,
is Mr. Fieldstone getting a cut of this, or are they? Because the comic books are 10 cents, but they were charging 25 cents. So they just like made a truckload of money on selling these comic books.
But my favorite part is the only reason why the operation would need to be that intricate would be for the precise situation that unfolded, which is they get caught, in which case they both just sort of threw their hands up and they
were like, cool, we'll get away with the $40 that we made already.
And so there was no need for I mean, it's that level of detail that I do think is what makes Riverdale shine.
Well,
but it's just in the moment it is absurd.
Yeah. And to go back to what I was saying before, it could have been as easy as just them pretending they were on a date and people coming up to say hello.
Or just Jughead had him in his backpack.
Or whatever, because then
they paid for Shannon Purser. They're going to get there.
Then it just like begs further questions where it's like, why did you deliberately have to sit in separate booths? Like that's just, I don't want to sit with you, Ethel, but I'll sit back to back. I don't know. It's very weird. And then Frank had that weird talk with Archie about how if you keep writing poetry, people will start thinking the wrong things.
Which, I mean, it's nice to sort of link the character back to where he started.
Yeah, but he's like been okay the last 2 episodes.
It was just very strange. Yeah. Also, like when Frank came in, Archie like
it was
shit the bed. He was like, "Whoa."
It was like his pants were down around his ankles. It was a real problem.
And then did we finish with the Hiram? He maintains his innocence. He maintains that he was not there.
Yeah, well, and
with
Veronica's
Vidal Castro or
Mastro.
Well,
Veronica seems to accept that as well, but she's like, I don't even care if you are a communist. You are screwing around on my mom. So.
With a woman named Kelly, who is from Cuba, or he took her to Cuba. I have so many questions.
I'm not 100% sure that color hair comes out of Cuba. I don't
think it comes out of anywhere.
No, definitely. Iceland, maybe. I think he took her. I think he took his mistress on vacation to Cuba.
Okay.
Which was like a vacation destination in the 50s.
You were lamenting.
I do. There's like certain like,
time period, places in time.
Specific places at specific times that I wish I could have experienced. And
the Moulin Rouge.
Cuba in the 50s is definitely one of them. Cuba in the 50s, Paris in the 20s. Yeah. New York almost anytime.
I don't know. Is there more that we need to talk about? I'm a little half a bubble off today.
I think that's it. We talked about Archie and Betty and Veronica.
Jughead.
Julian got schooled by Hiram for doing his Hamlet.
He was there, but
yeah,
it amounted to nothing. Because
Marcus Wells didn't even do the speech. And then Julian had that stupid line, too, where he was like, what do you and Hamlet have in common or something? He goes, well, I'm not Danish, I'll tell you that. And I was just like, what in the hell does that? I know that Hamlet is a Danish prince, but like the way that he phrased it made no sense at all.
Because remember in that movie Head Over Heels?
Yeah.
It's the Great Dane named Hamlet.
I love that. Like I said, I do think that's it. Just kind of some weird.
It was weird. It was weird.
Tonight.
It was fine, but my feelings about this episode, I think, will settle with time.
Context.
Yeah. So.
And then we ended with the comic book burning, and Dilton Doily seemed just like the principal's buying her comic book.
Also, Midge was here. Midge was in this episode. Yeah. Didn't have a line. Fangs wasn't in this episode, but Midge was.
She made a weird face at Cheryl and Kevin and Tony and
I would just
Clay.
Just a very strange episode.
God, Kevin, he keeps doing it where he's like, well, we can still be together in private. And I'm like, you are in public, sir. Stop it. Insane.
Okay, well, I can't wait for next week.
Yeah.
So hopefully you had a good time. Let us know. Please like and subscribe. We need more subscribers. We need more likes. We need everything.
Yeah.
Give it to us. And let us have it.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye.